The dynamics and space in which we suffice is something that I can say that men overall have not been able to express themselves in a non-equivocal way, due to the fact that most of the time men are put into a space that has to be somewhat tamed, and has to be somewhat, elated in the factor of celebrating women. So I try to create a space of men that we're able to just celebrate men. Not that we push women out, but that we embrace the factor of femininity, but also embracing the factor of masculinity in the sense of balance. Because when you embrace it in the sense of balance, you have the opportunity to now put yourself in a straight line, but not just a straight line, but also a straight way of being able to be yourself. Because why? When you were born, you were made with femininity and masculinity, X and Y chromosomes. You have a lot in you that has a lot to do with everything. So you might as well be able to be comfortable being yourself, right? So the fact is, some people lean a little bit too more left and lean a little bit too much to the right and don't know how to stand in the middle, meaning don't cry. Why? Crying is perfectly fine. Crying is something that everybody does. Crying is a natural human thing. When you were a baby, maybe they told you were too tough to cry, but if you think about it, don't you want to cry sometime? As a gentleman myself, I find myself in a true proclivity all the time that men and women are able to look each other in the eye and say, God dang, man, where the heck did we go wrong? Why can't we get this together? And why is it that we can't ever do anything right? And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that we lack balance, and we lack the idea that has everything to do with the factor that man and woman help create man and woman. It's just what it is. It's just one of those things that we have to understand that is a constant. So meaning that we need each other and we can't do anything without the other one. And we might as well let go of all of this notion or misnomer or misinformation that we don't need each other. We need each other more than we ever have, and more than we ever, I don't want to say more than we ever have because I haven't been alive but for 38 years, but more than we ever have known in our lifetime, based upon the factor of what we have grown up to be. If you're one of those people who are special and who have had not only the idea, but also who have had if you're one of those people if you've been able to live it, I'll just leave it like that. If you've been able to live it and find your person and be able to have that balance, man, kudos to you. I'm happy for you. I'm happy that you've had that opportunity. But I will say there's a lot of people out here right now. There's a lot of people out here who have not had that opportunity, who have had to deal with the fact that they don't even know what love looks like. They have no idea what it is to be in love. And they definitely don't know what it is to have anybody who cares anything or cares enough about them that they give them the ideas and give them the love that is necessary in order for them to go on being the best person that they're meant to be. I have to say, I thank God for my mom being able to pour into me, and that she found me many male role models and allowed me to be in a space that, I was like, all right, cool, mom, thank you so much for showing me this. But it's also, she put me in situations where I was like, God dang, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? Not saying it's her fault. Maybe she trusted people and believed that people were certain ways. And then when they get behind closed doors, I see different things. So that also led to the balance of me understanding what I didn't want to be, but at the same time pushing and pulling from people what I actually wanted to be. Right? If it meant that I had to look at people in the eye or didn't look people in the eye. And I will say, one of my traits, or one of the things that's going on with me and that I've had to practice over the years, and that's looking at people direct eye contact, because I have a proclivity to think. I have I derive to thinking, and most of the time, right? That's my favorite pastime, is to sit and think. Thinking. But it's when I sit with people and talk to them, most of the time I look in other places, because I have a hard time connecting to people emotionally, right? So when I do connect to people emotionally, I find myself in a place of freedom where I love that space. I love that spot, but it is freaking hard because most people don't have the time or have the opportunity to connect with me in that manner. They don't. So because they don't have time to connect with me in that manner, and because of the fact that emotional connection is not necessarily something that is man derived, it becomes a unachieved facet, and it becomes something that's hard to gain control of as you get older, because most of the time you go throughout your life trying to gain this thing, but at the same time you got to work. You might have children, you might have a wife, you might have these things, and you have yet to gain onto your emotional control. So because you've yet to gain onto your emotional control, you don't have the ideas or have the ability to be able to do anything that has anything to do with you growing as a person, with you growing as a man, with you growing as a father, with you growing as a husband, because you just don't have the emotional connection. So for me, my focus has been to connect with myself emotionally and connect with the emotional side of me so I don't miss out. Because I feel like for most gentlemen, we have an opportunity here where we don't have, or we miss out. Basically, we miss out on the opportunity to be able to connect with our wife, connect with our brothers, connect with our sisters. And because of this, the connection that we really want to have is somewhere there, somewhere right on the other side of through, right? It's one of my favorite gospel songs, but it's somewhere on the other side of through. But it's like we don't have the opportunity to get there because what we're doing is constantly working through something, while people are constantly living around us and hoping that we are at the level they are. And the funny part is, as men and women, we accept less from each other, and then we take it out on other people who don't even know that we accepted less from another person. So now the person who's coming into our life doesn't know that we've accepted less as we've come to, and we're expecting them to fill in the void and fill in the things that we've lost, instead of realizing that that's internal work. If you've accepted less, then that means it's your fault that you didn't. So you might as well do the work within yourself to no longer accept less, to only go about your life accepting what you actually want to accept. And also learning that if you're accepting a certain level and that is actually less, then you still have work to do. If you're accepting the appropriate amount, then that is great, because you're now understanding that you also have to give that same appropriate amount. Remember, what you accept is also what you give. And I don't care what nobody says. People may believe that they've given more. You may have given more, but you only gave to the level of which you understand what to give. You've never given to the level that's beyond you unless somebody accepted less, or expected more from you, and you had to rise to the occasion to being a better person. I have an idea. The way that everybody can get to giving to their appropriate level is to sit down and do the homework. As far as FYBJ Main says, do your homework on being a better person. Do your homework on how to get to your top level. Do your homework on how to be the best person that you can, and stop living your life as this, I want to say, misnomer within itself. Like stop living your life just out here, just willy nilly, right? And actually have some gumption about you to do what's necessary for you to become the best person that you can. Because I have to say this, that there's a lot of men and women right now who have this ability and have a disability when it comes down to relationship, love, and life. And there's a lot of people out here who could benefit from being their best self, but they only give their self over to the factor of what other people say, what other people do, and how other people expect them to be, instead of saying, you know what, forget what everybody says, forget everybody wants me to do. I'm gonna sit down and do the homework on myself and realize if I'm giving the best or if I'm not. And that causes self-awareness. If you're very self-aware, that means you also can grow to a point of self-consciousness and self-confident, right? And when I say consciousness, I don't mean in the sense of, oh my God, I'm self-conscious in a negative sense, but in the positive, that you're becoming more conscious of yourself. And if you have any reality to yourself, you realize that no matter how much you are aware of yourself, you realize no matter what you do, no matter what you work on, no matter how good you become at this and good you become at that, there's always the room for imperfection, which also means that you have to give that same grace and that room for other people. And that means that your relationships can be more loving and fulfilling within self, because, man, I'm telling you, and this whole message was towards men, and notice how the balance, right? Fellas, I'm telling you, when you get to that point of you loving, living, and being your best self, then you will have nothing other than the ability to be the greatest version of yourself that you ever wanted to be. And what you will do at that point is give yourself over to the factor of authenticity. That means you're authentically flawed and authentically well put together at the same time. And that right there is a lovable trait. And if somebody tries to tell you different, just remember that person has yet to raise their standards of themselves, because they have no idea what it is to be imperfect and perfect at the same god doggone time. Never stop trying to strive to be perfect, and never stop trying to be the best version of yourself. Deuces. Peace up, A-Time down.